Yeah. And Scott Adkins is in one of the Bourne movies too. Just to throw his name back out there.
He's an Ultimatum, and honestly, I don't think I can find him in it. It's so shaky. I don't think I've ever been able to.
Can I ask you a question real quick before we get to the rest of the Rennie Harlin's movies? How annoyed were you when Statham handled them pretty easily in Expendables 2? Or, I mean, is that just the food chain? But I was hoping for so much more.
It's disappointing, and what it is they run out of time. I don't know why they don't start with the most important fights and spend the most time on them. So if they run out, some of the earlier ones can be shortchanged. But I remember at the junket for Expendables 2, both Statham and Adkins were disappointed that they didn't get more time to film that fight. I think that was the reason both of them did that movie. Well, Statham was already in the cast, but he was looking forward to working with Adkins. Adkins was looking forward to doing a choreography with Statham, and then they get half a day to do it, and that's all that's in the movie. A similar thing happened on Transporter 2. I remember there's great fights in that movie, and they have this awesome female villain character, and by the time he fights her at the end, it's very quick. And they both said, they were disappointed they ran out of time to do more with that. And you just sort of think whoever's scheduling those movies needs to make sure they spend the most time on the most important fights.
Yeah, no less jet ski action scenes where he chases down a bus he ramps on a highway and catches up to a bus and then jumps on it. And focus more on fight scenes. I would have loved that. Less jet ski action scenes.
That's the rule for all Hollywood is less, preferably no jet ski action scenes. We've seen enough.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I still haven't watched 5 Days of War. Have you watched that?
Yeah, I saw it. That was, I think, by Harlin's own admission, after doing a lot of studio projects, he wanted to do something personal, and he got to do it. It definitely came out in theaters, but I don't remember it making many waves back then. But he got to make his movie, and it exists, and it's still there for people to discover.
Yeah, and I mean, he actually went out there and filmed. I mean, a lot of it's on location. I mean, it's a wide open movie. He got a pretty big budget for it. I think I'm reading here it only made $17,000 in the States, so it must have gotten like a real low release here. But
that's like a very cursory platform, and then if it doesn't do huge in those theaters, it's gone.
Richard Coyle's in it. I love that he's a British sitcom star.
And he's also in Grabbers, Richard Coyle.
Yes, he is.
Which is a creature feature. Not more people should watch.
Grabbers is great.
Drunk Irish villagers battling aliens.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that movie. But also, I want to say, Devil's Pass is an underrated horror movie. I just want to get that out there. Many people probably don't agree with me, but his found footage movie, I dug it. Did you like it?
Yeah, and that was, remember, once again, Harlin trying the styles that were popular at the time. I guess it was the first Blair Witch Project that really popularized found footage, but it wasn't really until the Paranormal Activity sequels started coming out one a year that everyone started doing found footage. So there again, Harlin was like, all right, I can do it too. And then once again, like Cliffhanger, which is something we talked about in our interview, he goes to the actual mountains and does it. It's not just like a cheap found footage movie in the woods.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it looks good. I mean, he knows production value. He knows how to, I don't know. Yeah, I think he understands, I think, how to make a decent budget look nice. And I love that about it. And so, but I'm surprised. I'm looking here now. Legend of Hercules made $59 million worldwide. That's not bad.
Yeah, well, and remember, that was the one, they knew that The Rock was doing his own Hercules movie, and Hercules is public domain, so they tried to make get their own Hercules movie out first. And they got Kellen Lutz from Twilight to be their Hercules, and they had Rennie Harlin direct it, so it was a big movie. And I think neither Hercules movie really restarted the Hercules renaissance that year. And that was also when they were still making every movie in 3D. So the Legend was actually 3D.
he's trying out again something else there. Harlan is. They should have put Adkins in Hercules with The Rock. That'd have been a great fight. So I guess have you watched Skip Trace, right?
I saw Skip Trace, and I believe, and Rennie and I talked again for Skip Trace because that was after
Nice.
I'd seen Cutthroat Island, The New Beverly. So I got to talk to him about how that screening went. That was the last time we spoke. It was by phone because he was still out of China. And that was the last Rennie Harlin movie I've seen because I haven't found Legend of the Ancient Sword, Bodies at Rest, or the subsequent ones. But I think, Skip Trace worked combining Jackie Chan's style of comedy action with Rennie Harlin's style of big studio practical action. And I'm glad he found a foreign film industry that appreciates him so he can keep making movies like that. I hope the other ones come over to the States so we can see them and pay for them legitimately. Obviously, we don't want to just get them smuggled over because we want to support the artists.
So I have a quick question for you. I want to see what you think. We had Brian Raftery on as a guest. He wrote the great book, Best Movie Year Ever, How 1999 Blew Up the Big Screen. And he said it would be interesting to see Rennie Harlin direct an MCU film or something like that. Nowadays, where he's at, would you want to see that? Would you want to see a $200 million Rennie Harlin superhero movie?
Well, to the extent that I would want to see any Rennie Harlin movie, yes. And that is sort of what they do. What they do is they pick people out of more independent movies like Ryan Coogler or Scott Derrickson. But, we see they've hired Sam Raimi to do Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So they are going back to directors who have done other big budget movies before. So it would be interesting if they got some of these 90s blockbuster directors to see what the combination of that style with the heavy CGI Marvel aesthetic is. Now, they don't have to do that. They have a system that works pretty well. So who are we to say they need to hire this director or that? But to answer your question, as much as I'm curious to see what else Rennie Harlin does in China and Hong Kong, I'd be interested to see his approach to any of the newer cinematic styles.
Reunite him with Nick Fury or with Sam Jackson, do one of those movies.
That'd be beautiful. The Nick Fury origin story or something.
Or even Stallone from Guardians.
Yes.
Oh, yes. No, you're right. I worked on a few Marvel movies, and they got their stuff straight. So I definitely can't tell them who to direct.
They know what they're doing.
I would love to see Rennie Harlin with $200 million Disney dollars behind him with Sam Jackson again, making one of those movies, or Sylvester Stallone. Well, they could reunite. They live in the same world.
Skarsgård's in Avengers 2.
Yeah.
Or Thor the World. So bring in Skarsgård.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've hit on something. You look at these directors like Rennie Harlin who did try different things and tried to evolve as Hollywood evolved. Paul Verhoeven is another example because he did science fiction and erotic thriller and went back to science fiction with the new approaches like Starship Troopers and Hollow Man, and then went back to Europe to do historical movies like Black Book and really controversial dramas like Elle. So, if you match directors who are interested in experimenting with the resources like Marvel, I think you could get really interesting things.
So if that happens, the three of us are going to be associate producers. I'm just putting that out there.
We'll take it.
That's right. Oh, but no, this was fun. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us about the deleted scenes. This is just something that is a thing of legend for Jay and I. So we're glad to hear the story.
We're very jealous of you, Fred. We're very envious.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Jay and Mark. And also thank you for giving me a chance to apologize to Saffron Burrows and Rennie Harlin for possibly my tone. Maybe being a little frivolous with those note cards when it was someone's hard work and career on the line. But I'm glad we came to a narrative solution. And I should say I stopped going to those test screenings once I started doing this for a living because, well, one, that would be you're not allowed to go to them if you're in the industry. And I became much more interested in reporting on movies legitimately through having these conversations with Rennie Harlin and other filmmakers.
Saffron's furious about your comments because, I mean, her character would have survived. She could have been in the sequels. Who knows?
Oh my God. I never thought of that. They made Deep Blue Sea 2 and 3. I cost Saffron Burrows' future work.
I doubt it.
Oh my God.
None of the surviving characters appear in the sequels. You're fine.
That's true. The Sci-Fi Channel Deep Blue Sea 2 decades later was not going to call Saffron Burrows either way.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So before we get out of here, is there anything you want to promote before we get out?
Well, I'm just always covering the latest TV shows and movies. So the main places you can find my work these days are on Showbiz Cheat Sheet and UPI. I also still do occasional work for Slash Film and Rotten Tomatoes. You can follow my talk about franchises at Franchise Fred on Twitter, or non-franchise movies and other real-world stuff at Fred Topel.
So this is really random, and it's going to be tough for you to do, but top 3 2020 TV or movie shows you watched in 2020? Since we're putting this out soon.
I saw season 3 of Cobra Kai last year, so that.
Nice.
Promising Young Woman.
Oh, so good.
And The Trial of the Chicago 7, I did not expect to love as much as I did. I didn't know anything. I really didn't know anything about that case. And I'd heard the name Abbie Hoffman, but I didn't really know what he stood for. So that made me really interested in his activism. And I went and watched the movie, Steal This Movie, that Vincent D'Onofrio made playing Abbie Hoffman 20 years ago. And that was interesting too. So those are the first 3 that come to mind. Oh, and if you're talking about action, Debt Collectors 2 was last year.
Yeah. Scotty Ads. So good. I love that guy. Well, no, thanks for that. And Jay, is there anything you want to promote before we get out of here?
No, just our usual Deep Blue Sea stuff. Find the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Deep Blue Sea Pod. I didn't partake much in that conversation because I haven't seen most of Rennie Harlin's career or Scott Adkins' career or anything else you've talked about. So I've just been making note of all these recommendations. So thank you to both of you for all the great recommendations. You can email us deepblueseapod@gmail.com if you have any other Rennie Harlin or Scott Adkins recommendations for us. Then please send them our way. And read more of my writings over at lifevsfilm.com, lifevsfilm.com. Mark, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I also work for Rotten Tomatoes, so listen to the Rotten Tomatoes is Wrong podcast. I work with them on that. Then I also work on the Versus videos that we're doing. We got a whole new slate coming out, got some fun stuff coming. And then I got some new things coming out for the film theorists and food theory coming out. So I think on the 28th, just type in Mark Hoffmeyer food theory, and I got a new video coming out. So there's there to check out. That'll be good.
Great. And we'll be back next week. We're not sure what we're doing next week. We've finished Deep Blue Sea, but we have some plans. It'll be a surprise.
Well, there's 2 sequels.
Yeah. We're doing them.
We know.
Yeah. The DVDs have 10 and 11 chapters, so we're thinking about covering those.
Well, we're thinking about it. I haven't seen either of them yet, so it's a possibility. But come back next week to find out what it is we're doing. But as for this week, thank you again to Fred Topel.
Thank you.
I've been Jake Lewitt.
And I'm Mark Hoffmeyer.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.